Welcome to Greenable Woodbridge. I'm your host, Carolyn Ehrlich. One of the things that I like best about our Greenable Woodbridge program is that we just don't think about there being a healthy environment. We also include that you have to have a healthy economy, and most important, you have to have healthy residents. And there is one person in town that kind of made it his responsibility, thank goodness, to make sure that we're all as healthy as we can be. And that is our very own Councilman Gregg Ficarra. And this has been his cause since the day he first sat down on the council podium. And one of your greatest, I think, joys in being a councilman is chairing the Mayor's Wellness Committee on wellness. So Absolutely. If you could just, tell us a little bit about what that committee is.
Well, it started back when I was fortunate enough to be able to take your seat on the council when you stepped down to go in the position you're in. I believe, according to Mayor McCormick, what he told me was Mayor Pelsman, God rest his soul, initially signed us up on this statewide initiative of the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. And then, of course, Mayor Mack took it to another level and asked me if I would chair the committee. Being a supervisor of health, phys ed, athletics, recreation, it was a great fit for me. But I think, Carolyn, what really makes it work is the support, quite frankly, of you and of Mayor McCormick. It's a priority, and it allows us to do the things that we do because the township and the mayor and the administration recognize the importance of healthy citizens.
And you have such a great committee. The people who sit on the committee are a great mix. Talk about that a little bit.
It is amazing. I was thinking about that while I was walking in the hallway, getting my steps up. It's tough to do this because you feel like you're going to forget somebody. But just I can't name them all. By way of example, you start out with Ann Mazza up the street on Main Street, and she actually does our TV show, Wellness Woodbridge Wellness. Then you look at Kevin over at Wegmans, and Jeff at the club at Woodbridge, and Linda at the hospital. You got the folks at the pediatric care, and Lisa at the emergency care,
and all of the community center staff.
Oh, and
the help you get from them is incredible.
That's our hub.
Yeah.
The hub is the Woodbridge Community Center.
Right.
All things start in wellness at the community center, and Pam and Cynthia do an incredible job.
That's a great slogan.
Yeah. When it comes
to it.
Vito. Yeah, when you think of the reach of that committee, we use that term reach or the context that you may need to help anybody out. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. Right. It's absolutely amazing, and it's a consistent group that sticks together. Mm-hmm. We do have people that come in and they're active for a little bit and they go back out, but when we need them, we can bring them back in. So it's really a great cross-section of people that have wellness in some way, shape, or form at the basis of their...
They do.
I just hit 10,000 steps, by the way.
All right. And that's what we're talking about, walking and taking steps.
Yeah.
And, that's a great segue into my next question, which was what are some of the programs that your committee has overseen? And one of them was the Fitbit Challenge.
Right. Well, let's give credit where credit is due. That was your idea that you sold to Mac, and it came our way. And then we, of course, embraced it. One of the nice things, and you know this better than anybody, of being on the town council, besides the responsibilities of all the other governance that we need to do, you can champion something. As you said, my thing is wellness. So somebody comes up with an idea. It doesn't have to be my idea, or quite frankly, the committee's idea. Someone like you comes up with...
They all end up being the mayor's idea.
Yes, and that's the way it should be. At least that's what I'm told. But, you guys came up with the idea. Let's use technology to embrace this walking concept and challenge the community. Well, who would have thought that over 200 people would start, and it ended up with just a little bit shy, and how many lives were affected, and it doesn't take much. That's the bottom line. And when you take something like walking, you can walk anywhere. I was just walking in the hall as you were. So.
Right. It's and as we listen to some of the stories of the people that participated in it, you realize one of the winners, she went right to my heart. She was telling a story of how she started walking after she finished chemotherapy, to make her feel both emotionally and physically better.
Sure.
And you can't top that. But those are the benefits of walking.
Absolutely, and I think we talk about a lot of things. I know you have an exercise regimen. I'm a big strength training guy. But the reality is if we all just move around a little bit and walk, make those choices, it has an unbelievable effect on you as a person,
right.
on our society, on our environment, because we're talking about the marriage between the two. If you remember correctly, gosh, a number of years ago when we got that grant through the YMCA and we were in Washington, D.C. With the CDC. And one of those people made the statement, if you walk and ride your bike a little bit more, number one, you're using less gas, which is a beautiful thing, you know,
right.
for not only for the environment, but for your pocket and, you know, for your health-wise. And if you're not using your car, you're less pollutants in the air. But at the same time, on my end, on the wellness end, you're maybe preventing some of those chronic diseases, and you're not spending as much money on insurance. One of the most expensive things we have now is health insurance, and I know that's a hot topic nationally. But if you manage to stay in some kind of shape, you're helping your own personal health out.
Right.
Maybe you won't need to get into the medical system. Maybe you can avoid it.
Absolutely.
And you know as well as I do, that's the way the world is going right now. Prevention rather than treatment. And our friends at the hospital will tell you that right away. That's what they're working on.
And it really is so easy to go take a walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially in Woodbridge.
Right. You know, and we have the indoor track at the community center.
Absolutely.
And it's so beautiful. And we're actually talk a little bit about what the mayor did with the tracks around the schools. I don't know if people realize that we have them there.
Yep, you can go around any of our schools, our elementary schools, and you'll see tracks that are on the ground on a nice level surface that allow you to walk. You know, Carolyn, whatever your interest is in walking, we've got it in Woodbridge. And
right.
I'm a councilman, so it's, I'm promoting our town. But think about it. Think about the county parks we have in town. Merrill Park, Alvin P. Williams, Warren Park. We have our neighborhood parks everywhere. You've got the Greenway that passes through our town. You can walk along the waterfront and see Warren and Port Reading. Yep. Or you can walk at your schools around, because some people like to have a designated area so they know how far they walked, if they're not a Fitbit person.
Right.
So there's something for everybody. But the bottom line is unless you've got a medical disability, there's no excuse not to walk. It's
My favorite
easy.
walks are in neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
I like to just walk and look at houses and see how people do landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? We keep up our neighborhoods really nice here in Woodbridge. They're all gorgeous, no matter where you go.
I agree. And you know what? You meet the nicest people.
Yeah.
I was at Dunkin' Donuts on Route 35, and of course North Park and South Park Drive are there. That is the gem of Woodbridge. I mean, it is incredible. The stream going down. When you get up on the southern end, you got the pond with the sprinklers.
I call that our Central Park.
Oh, yes, it is, clearly. And you can say, well, you got Route 35 in the middle, but you got a light, you press the button. As long as you're patient, you cross the street safely and get over onto the southern end. You got the northern end and the southern end, and it's just gorgeous. And my point is you meet nice people, you say hello, you're waving, and so it's a whole. It's a happening. It's not just about the walking and burning the calories and getting the steps. It's just there's an emotional and psychological component to it.
It makes the town all that much smaller.
Yeah.
And one of your favorite places to walk you haven't mentioned yet, the Greenway.
Yes, yeah, it is. To me that is just a special place, and hats off to Freeholder Delina, who got that started, and of course Councilman Rick, who's kind of pushed it along. But here you are, you got an old rail line that went through our property, and somebody got the brilliant idea to convert it to a walkway. And not only is it a walkway, it's a paved walkway. And when you have barriers, it deals with the barriers. Gosh, it goes underneath roads, under the turnpike, over Route 1 when you get down into Metuchen and Edison. But it's a little over 3 miles, maybe 3.5 miles of paved. So whatever your thing is, bicycling or walking or, quite frankly, skateboarding or any of that stuff. And when you're out there, you see all kinds. And when we had our little walk last week, Mayor McCormick led his, as you know, you were there, his second annual spring walk on the Greenway. My concern was that we had such a large group, we had to make them aware you got to stay to the right so people can pass you, because we had joggers and bike riders. And, we're there for that one night. Some of these people are there every night, like religion. So it's another one of the gems of Woodbridge. And you and I have been on it a number of times, even to the point where we
did a little adventure.
Yes, we went over the Parkway and Route 9 and crossed from, I guess, the Ford section into the Hope Lawn section, which really has wonderful merit, but it's going to be a challenge to get over those major state roads. So, But yeah,
we're not going to give up, though.
No. Well, what a surprise!
They could get it over Route 1. They can.
Yeah, absolutely. But and Mayor McCormick pointed it out when we did our opening on the spring walk that you and we had a group out there and we saw an owl.
Yes.
I mean, so an owl in Woodbridge Township in Forge, New Jersey, and it was just sitting there looking at us, and we didn't run away or anything, and so once again, you talk about tying in environment. And you talk, it's there.
Well, what it's actually done is it's created a habitat.
Yes.
For the wildlife and for the animals.
Yep.
And it's really, the humans are, in that habitat.
Absolutely.
So it's really nice. And as we walk through it, I'm noticing, there are different kinds of flowers that are sprouting and everything. It was really gorgeous. Now, do you remember a year ago when we did your first walk? Mm-hmm. We met a woman who jogged. How much weight did she say she lost using the Green?
I can only tell you her maiden name, Stacy Jablonski. I hired her as a soccer coach. She's an outstanding teacher. I mean, a governor's recognition teacher in Perth Amboy. And she was a swimmer, I believe, at Sayreville High School growing up. And like a lot of us, I think she got into her life and raising her children and from her own accord, got out of shape.
Right.
But she totally credited the Greenway and the accessibility to the Greenway to allow her to first walk and then run. And now she's a regular runner. You'll see her at our Crossroads race. She'll be at the pizza race, I'm sure. And, she lost an incredible amount of weight. I wouldn't want to guess, because I know her. So, the next thing when the show comes.
It was astonishing. It was really and motivating.
And unsolicited.
Right, exactly.
Right, because we were walking, hey, Greg, how you doing? And then we kind of stopped her and she gave us her story. But, yeah, she's a cool lady.
And it was just it was so heartening to hear that.
Absolutely.
It's really, really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so unfortunately, not everybody in town knows where the Greenway is. So can you be a little bit more specific about where it is?
I think if you can imagine, those of you that are familiar with Forge, if you're going down New Brunswick Avenue, say you're leaving our Forge area and heading towards Edison on New Brunswick Avenue by where the big jewelry store is, and any of those lefts will take you to which in essence is a gully, and the Greenway is there. But if you go to Olson Towers, which is on Forge, right on New Brunswick Avenue, and you take that left, there's an entrance there. There are a few other entrances on those streets, but in essence it parallels New Brunswick Avenue. All the way until you cross out of our town, and then I believe it changes to Amboy Avenue in Edison. And any of those lefts will take you to the Greenway. And then once you're on the Greenway, as you know, you go all the way through Edison, over Route 1, and eventually you wind up right in Metuchen.
Right.
And I think what Metuchen has embraced that we're trying to do, and Councilman Delina especially representing Forge, is getting people to understand the relationship between the Greenway and the offerings on New Brunswick Avenue. There's so many places you can get delicious food. Just stop to take a little break, and there's a relationship between exercising on the Greenway and supporting the merchants in that particular area.
And as I started out, healthy economy.
Yes, absolutely. So, that health, that network of health goes out to a lot of the components of what makes a good town.
Right.
And I think that's, it's very cool. And I know that down in Edison, it passes very close to Herbert Hoover Middle School. The principal at Herbert Hoover is a former guy from Amboy, and I know that they, in their science classes, embrace it. And it's, we do a lot of those things in town with our Oros Park.
Yes.
Again, with incorporating it into the curriculum. The relationship between the environment and children learning. The butterfly gardens and all of those cool things we have.
Do you know that it's part of the curriculum now? All the third graders are taking field trips to Oros Park.
Wow.
And they're taking their, whatever it is, a chrome pad or whatever, and they're taking pictures and they're writing papers about what they see.
That's fabulous.
It's really cool. And another walkway that is probably, in the span of time making trails, it's probably another year to 2 years away from opening. But yesterday I went down to the Raritan River, where they cleaned up and they created the wetlands in Caseby. And they're having like the wood frames now for the boardwalk are there, and it's just so exciting. I can't wait till that's open, because there were toads all over, and these flickers, the birds called flickers, they're beautiful with little baby flickers. I mean, it's unbelievable. So in another year or two, we're going to have another park and an area to walk down. So, but I want to go back a few steps when you were talking about walking and the effects of cars. We have the committee ABC, anything but cars.
Right.
And obviously the cars are not that great for the environment, using all the gasoline and everything. Can you talk a little bit, though, about the idling of cars? And so many of our children have asthma.
Right.
And how important it is really to not, if you're going to use a car, to turn it off.
Yeah, I think the old mindset is that, depending on what climate you're in,
right.
You're in wintertime, it's cold, you want to leave your car running so you can get out in the cold and you can come back. If you're in the summer, you want to keep your air conditioning on. But in particular around the school when, we're finding out more and more how environmental issues are affecting children's health and, quite frankly, adults' health, seniors' health, yeah. You got to be a little bit more conscious of those things. Right. And there's really no reason for us not to know that. It's just like smoking cigarettes. I don't have anything against anybody that smokes cigarettes, but nobody's going to argue with you or me that cigarette smoking is not hazardous to your health.
Exactly. And
at the same time, if a child is passing a car that's been idling for a few minutes and they get a breath of that exhaust, which is coming from a combustible engine,
right.
It's not good for your health. So I just think there's more of an awareness, and we can use your show right now right. as a pitch to, hey folks, shut your car off, right. And it goes without saying with some of these diesels, you can't even idle the diesels. And I know our buses, I'm pretty sure we might have some diesel buses that go through our town, and right. there's strict laws. I believe there's laws against mm-hmm. that. But
there definitely are anti-idling laws, but we have to enforce them more, and I think we're pretty good with our enforcement.
Right.
But we hate to have to depend on enforcement to get right. things done. Just
awareness.
Do the right thing. I love your comparison with the smoking, because it's just a matter of other people's health.
Right, exactly. And it's a tough, that's a very tough situation, because as you know, with your help, I'm the councilman that introduced the ordinance or resolution, I'm not sure what it was, about no smoking on our property. And,
right.
And, even in this building, people that are smoking, it's part of their body now, and
right.
and I know we were successful, even Cynthia in your office, of helping some people. That was the reason.
A lot of people,
yeah, and
have stopped,
and it's a challenge, either
right.
way.
It's a true addiction.
As of right now, next Tuesday is our next council meeting. In the Senate and the Assembly of the state, they passed a bill to prevent smoking on any of our state parks. The governor hasn't signed off on it yet, but let's hope that he will. But we were fortunate enough, I asked Mr. Mitch and our law department to pass a resolution in support of those bills,
great.
Which will be read at Tuesday nights. But those are the little things you can do. And sometimes they are just, kind of a representation or like a signal of our concerns, and maybe they're not the law, but they speak volumes about what's important in Woodbridge. So.
Right.
And again, it gets back to the support, because you come up with something like that, and you certainly want to run it through the mayor, because we're all on the same team.
Right.
So if something goes out there, it's ultimately it's going to be the mayor,
right.
Even though it might have been my resolution or question, it's going to fall back on him. So, but that's the beauty. That's the beauty of our communication.
Yep.
So
everything gets communicated.
Yep.
So. You just started talking about the council. What are some of the other things that you're doing on the council? Not necessarily health related, but.
Well, when you're on the council, besides dealing with the obviously the very important issues of keeping taxes at a level base and working with you on redevelopment, the nice thing when you're born and raised in a town is people are comfortable coming and speaking to you. So. If it's not issues of property maintenance, which is sometimes uncomfortable, people right. are calling and there's a ditch that's got water in it. Those are almost day-to-day things,
right.
and being an active walker like you are, and the mayor, I send an email and I say, while I was taking a walk, I noticed this, and then John will kid around and say, well, stop walking, but but the reality is it's very easy while you're walking to notice something that might need attention. You know, a park that could use a little TLC. Not our park guys are incredible. I don't know how they do it because we have so many of those parks. But there's day-to-day operations like that. When you're a council person, you're allowed to champion certain things, as you know. For me, it's wellness, but there's other items on the agenda. We have our great 4th of July celebration that comes up, and that's an exciting day, time, and we're honoring Vietnam veterans. So if there's any Vietnam veterans out there, please call the mayor's office if you haven't. We'd love to honor you and respect you. You know, there's just plenty of opportunities. But the bottom line is it's just the town of almost 100,000 people, or I think we're at 100,000 people, gets real small. You know, and
I'm always amazed how everybody knows everybody. It really is a small town.
Yeah. And you know, people are not afraid to ask. And I got in the habit, not because I like to show off or anything, but I wear golf shirts that say Gregg Ficarra, councilman, and I think that's a good thing because people, you know, I know that guy. Where do I know that guy from? And then when they see that, and if they have an issue, they can come up and they say, look, I don't want to bother you in ShopRite. And then my first word is, wait a minute, I represent you. This is not a bother, you know. Right. So it's cool. There's multiple things that we get involved in, and you learn so much because, you know, balancing budgets and stuff. For God's sake, I was a gym teacher. You know, somebody gave me a budget, and I had to deal with it, not help to create a budget. So, you know, there's just wonderful opportunities. Right,
and now you ask a question, and the administration is going, how did he know to ask that? You know, because you really do. It's a fun part of the job, is because you do learn a lot too.
Absolutely.
And I know you took over something that I absolutely adored doing, which was Youth and Senior Month. We just finished them up.
Yes, and the people involved in that are wonderful. You know, that's where I always say this to people. You know, when you're a councilman in a town like ours, and there's so many wonderful people out there, if you talk out loud about an idea, somebody's already figuring out how to make it work.
Right.
And you know what? The reality is life is not that way. You know, I know that when I go home and speak to my wife. But there's so many people from the community center. Again, I told you, the hub of wellness in Woodbridge Township starts at the community center.
Right.
And all of our senior centers and our youth centers all around town. And it grows like almost every day with you guys with Sycamore now in Port Reading. But all of those people come together, and before you know it, there's a schedule. It's like, wow. And you know, we always try to keep things fresh and throw a new, you know, there's some historic events like Big Wheels that hopefully will never go away. Yeah. But there's always new little tweaks there. And you know, I'm the guy that gets to talk about it. But the reality is there's a team of people that live and breathe that stuff, and they make it happen. And you know, it's incredible. And yes, you know, you got it going, and that is a legacy of you that will continue to go on. And it's just neat. It's become part of Woodbridge Township fiber, you know.
Right. And there are also some great events that the Wellness Committee does annually that now have already become part of our fiber. So one of them is coming up very soon, right? Yes,
the annual pizza run, which is very exciting, and the date of that is July 6th. It's a Wednesday. It's always a Wednesday. We're tweaking it a little bit because last year, believe it or not, the course started here, went down around the waterfront, and then came back. Well, honest to goodness, I have this vision of Patrick Kenny from our emergency management system standing on the railroad track, stopping a slow-moving freight train, honest to goodness. Yep. And I was like sweating on me because the runners are making the turn. So that became a problem.
It's the first time, though, in all the years that happened. And when we first did that route, we said, oh, my God, what will happen?
Yeah.
And
it happened.
It happened.
It happened. And that was unbelievable. I'll never forget that. But to address that issue now, we've moved everything down to our waterfront area with Alvin P. Williams Park as the hub and the registration area, and then running along Cliff Road and then making its loop back. It's a 4-mile run, which is quite unusual because, you've got your 5Ks and your 10Ks, your half marathons. 4 miles is pretty cool for a lot of reasons. One being, as a former runner, now being a walker, your first goal is that 5K, the 3.1 miles. miles. And then the jump to a 10K, which is 6.2, is drastic.
Huge.
Yeah, so you slap a 4-miler in the middle, and the people that are building up their aerobic capacity, it's a nice run. And it is, I believe it's a qualifier because our folks at the Club of Woodbridge, Jeff Serpolo and his team, and Jeff Marmerstein, those guys
couldn't happen without them.
They're incredible, and they bring Rob in from the running store in Metuchen, and he's the only guy from Metuchen we allow to come in. But you know, Rob is amazing with his organization and infusing technology with the numbers and the scanning, and it's incredible. But everything is going to be on our eastern side. And if you're a runner or a walker, and this is a run-walk, by the way, because Mayor Mack said it will be.
Right.
You've got the influence of the water, and everybody knows when you're near the water, it always affects, you know, how you feel when you're running, even on a hot and sticky day.
So are you going to walk, run, or administer?
You know what? Usually, you know, my classic there is I love my big straw hats, and I post myself somewhere, and I help out, and I clap and cheer for everybody because I've been in their shoes. But I'm still undecided. It you know, depends on if we need help or whatever it is. But I've kind of established that, and I kind of like it. And, you know, my personal days of competition are a little bit behind me. Now I just try to stay, you know, just stay in shape.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And then not too far after that, the Sunday before Labor Day is a historic activity that we do, and that's the Crossroads Run, and it's like what we call a carnival, more or less. You have a 10K, you've got a 5K, you've got a 1-mile fun walk, and then you've got all kinds of cool children's races, and you know, that's an amazing event, and that's named after Mr. Ward. It's been going on forever. No credit on that. I get to promote it, you know, because it happens to fall under my agenda. But that is a community event that is just absolutely incredible. And I do recognize, you know, we're closing streets down, and at times it's an inconvenience, but it brings people into town. When you hear the various winners of those races, and they come as far away as California one year.
Other countries.
Right. And when you think these people are in our town, if they're in our town, they're going to need our services. They're going to need our stores. They're going to use our you know, Walgreens and Walmart and Wegmans, and so there's a different side to that. I think that we as public servants consider that whole aspect of how it positively affects our town. But that's an incredible event. That's like a carnival, and what a wonderful way to put that in a weekend that kind of signifies the end of the summer, and, you know, a tribute to all the people that are out there working, being Labor Day and those kind of things. And then
we have 1 minute left, so you got to hit on the bike ride.
Oh yeah, okay. The last time goes by quickly when you're having fun. The tour to Woodbridge was another Mayor Mack thing that he started up, and it's always the last Sunday in September. And there's two components. There's a 30-mile bike tour, and there's a 15-mile bike tour. It is a tour. It is not a race.
Right.
We've got people of all levels. We've got Jeff Marmerstein from the club that's got his racers. They're all decked out and
off they go.
Yeah, that's a day. That's like a day's little practice. Not even a practice. They'll probably do more. Then you got folks this is a big deal for them, and they're giving it a shot. And it's a safe environment. You have to follow the rules of the road, but it is a safe environment. And again, I don't have the exact date, but it's the last Sunday in September. And then Wegmans is front and center with an incredible breakfast afterwards to put the weight back on you lost during the run.
Yep.
But and this year, the benefactor of that event is our very own Buddy Ball. So depending on how much money we bring in, we share some of the profits with Buddy Ball. So it's good all the way around.
That is a great note to end on. Because we all love Buddy Ball.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. This was a great show.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
And the health is a big, big part of Greenable Woodbridge.
Yep.
So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for embracing it, you and Mayor Mack.
Thank you for leading us. So thank you for watching Greenable Woodbridge and being part of the excitement and part of the change.